Hello and welcome back to the Radio Gamescast. Where are them games at?
Where they at? Where are you
Where'd
hiding
they
them?
where'd they go? Xbox, Microsoft, you're hiding some games from us, and we want to know what's happening to them.
Especially you, Microsoft.
Especially
Especially
Microsoft. Everyone else
Microsoft.
too, but especially Microsoft.
I can
This
smell
is
them on you. Where are they?
the Double Radio Gamescast. As always, I'm your host Ryan, and I'm joined today by my lovely co-host Alex,
Hi.
Brett,
Hello.
and Wyatt.
Hello.
It's that time of the week where we record things and talk about video games. And this week, we're talking about some games that we haven't heard from in a while. I think a lot of people have had this on the back of their mind. We've mentioned them offhandedly during the podcast a number of times of, hey, what happened to this? What's going on? And so I want to take some time to go through some of these and look at them, because we got a bunch of things that we just don't have an update for. And importantly, we're not going to be like doing an update. We don't have any insider information about these games. We are going to be going through and figuring out like who's still excited for what do we want to play, what are we
even
worried
remember
about.
We're just asking. We're just pleading.
Or maybe just ones
Updates,
with really,
please.
If there is some sort of story to it, maybe picking one that has an interesting backstory or just something that would be interesting to talk about as to why it's not here.
And also, we will likely talk about these games again, at least some of them. There's a number here that I think are going to be repeated discussion points until inevitably an article comes out that we can talk about with more
Hopefully,
details.
a majority of them aren't in development hell.
That would be nice.
We'll see. So yeah, we're gonna get cracking on that. But before we do, there was a bit of news this week, not very much, but the big one, and the one that I think we should talk about, is Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft are all reportedly not going to E3 this year. Importantly, this is a rumor. We don't have a confirmation from anyone that they're not doing E3. But seeing how the past few years went, I doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going.
Yeah, I don't.
They're
think
growing up. They're sprouting their own wings. They're having their own conferences.
And I don't think it's the most surprising thing either. I think
Yeah.
most everyone is more interested in doing their own kind of like direct style live stream, because I think those tend to be a lot more focused and it doesn't get jumbled up in the mess of like E3 schedules and who's playing when. They can just release their stuff whenever they want. I feel like they're given a lot more freedom in that aspect.
A little bit more leeway, and when information is actually going out.
And they can probably present their games more how they would want to. Like, I don't know how restrictive like an E3 show, show floor is in terms of like what you have to work with. But I feel like with a direct style live stream, they can do whatever they want. They can showcase games however they want. There's just a lot more freedom.
I think it's definitely true.
Like, it's also not one like 6-hour chunk anymore.
Yeah.
It can be hopefully different days spread out. And like, if you don't care about Xbox, just don't watch the Xbox stream.
Yeah.
If you don't care about Nintendo, there's no like little mix-ups all over the place or whatever. The thing with this is that I'm not sad, and I don't know if anybody really is, because it only took a few years for people to figure out that we don't really need E3 anymore. We've been able to survive in the shadow of E3. What it left for us,
the shadow of the Game Awards.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of fond memories, and I think I'm still gonna miss like the E3 hype season.
Yeah,
a little
that's
bit.
what I wanted to mention. Is I think there are people that are sad, but not about E3. They're sad about the lack of a hype week, of a centralized week where everything was kind of put together. Because I think something that is definitely we've seen over the past couple of years of E3 being more and more gone, and E3 season kind of falling into Summer Game Fest and all these other things, is that it's really hard to keep track of what's going on because there's not a centralized time area for things to happen. And I think that is a downside here. I feel like having things get discovered is going to be harder. Most AAA franchises are going to be fine because they have name recognition, but indies, I think, will have a harder time getting an eye on them from people that wouldn't have otherwise seen them.
And also, just speaking personally, I like a little bit of pageantry. I don't mind there being a nice big show. I don't think we'll ever get something as grand as PlayStation's E3 press conferences, where they have this awesome, like, all these like performers right there, and they have these beautiful pieces of music to transition from reveal to reveal and that sort of thing. And I think PlayStation, more so than anyone else, got down to like the presentation and also just like good reveals. And
Yeah.
those last couple years were really, really good. And then they
And
stopped
even
going.
like PlayStation's worst moments were not that bad. It's like the Ghost of Tsushima flute didn't hit. It wasn't a bad thing. It just was a bad way to reveal what you're talking about because no one has any idea what's going on, right?
It was
Oh, this is an
kinda
iconic piece
cool,
of music. No
but
one knows.
It was cool music, but no one had
played
any
it.
context for what was happening. So it didn't mean anything. I think that's really, it's unfortunate that we're not going to have that centralized week. There might be efforts to kind of do that, because I do think the thing I'm worried about here is E3 was created out of a need for a press conference that was centralized for things to get discovered. Whether or not that's still necessary, I think the internet is going to be the deciding factor of, because that's really the difference now, is we have a much easier way for people to get information. But the problem is the internet is so full of random bits of information that you might just lose the things that are important. So yeah, I don't fully know if this is going to stick. I think E3 is done. I don't think E3 as an entity is going to come back. I would put some money on there being, instead of E3, a kind of agreement to aim announcements for that area of summer.
Yeah, I think that would be smart for like everyone involved.
I
'Cause
think
even if there's not E3 itself, like Steam or some Jeff Keighley will, do it out of his own pocket if he has to put together like
Yeah.
an indie show or a PC gaming show or whatever. That always happens. There's one over like later in the summer, and like in the winter, I think there's some
The Summer
too.
Game Fest last year did a pretty good job of keeping
Mhm.
things contained to like a month, which I
Yeah.
think felt pretty good. It was a little bit less stressful than the 1 week thing of everything's happening this 1 week, but at the same time it was a little bit less hype. So I'm curious to see how that goes. Selfishly, the thing I'm going to miss the most is Easy Allies betting on the different E3 events, because it was very funny, and now that's definitely not going to be able to happen. But yeah, I don't think we're missing anything too grand in the great scheme of things.
And I think one thing that we've gained out of having individual sort of live streams is that I feel like more so now than ever, a lot of these, kind of like the big three, I think they're a lot more interested in having separate live streams just for indie games, which I think is a really, really good thing for the indie game scene, because you got one place where they're not lost in the shuffle with all these big AAA stuff. They get their own spotlight, which is what they deserve. And so I think that's one thing that we've gained out of all this for sure.
Yeah. All right. The next thing I want to do is talk about a little game coming out this week called Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
Because we've kind of been wishy-washy on this game, I think for good reason. But I think we need to the review embargo is tomorrow from when we are recording this, so we don't have any additional information on that. So I think it'd be fun to do some predictions, to get a little scatter shot of what people think this game's going to get, and the key elements of reviews that are going to happen. Now, beforehand, I want to preface this by saying none of us support J.K. Rowling. And I also want to add some context here, because I think a lot of people on the internet are seeing people being like, oh, I'm not buying this game because of J.K. Rowling, and not necessarily understanding where they're coming from. Go check J.K. Rowling's Twitter, because it's not like in the past. It's active right now.
Don't interact with it,
itself.
Just view it.
Yeah, she doesn't hide
don't touch
it.
anything there.
She doesn't hide any of it. It's it's pretty easy to see. It's pretty easy to stumble on.
It's weird. I'm not gonna lambast J.K. Rowling publicly, because that feels tacky. But yeah, we're not gonna talk about her.
Done to death.
If we talk about Hogwarts Legacy again, we're just not gonna mention J.K. Rowling, and we're not gonna talk about her. And we're not gonna give her a platform. I think that's the best solution to this problem for everyone involved.
Because I think, speaking of everyone involved, the amount of people that worked on the game is like 0% J.K. Rowling. So it is her property, which sucks. But the people that made the product are not involved with her. And I think,
and I guarantee you, there are likely trans people on that team. There are people that
absolutely
are affected by what J.K. Rowling says, who really like Harry Potter, and are probably upset that they're being grouped in with J.K. Rowling to begin with. So yeah, we're just not going to talk about J.K. Rowling anymore. I think that's the fairest thing for everyone, and none of us like what she says. So,
I had a conversation about this with a friend of mine, but it is always an interesting case where maybe you're making a movie or you're making a game or whatever, and there's like that one person that comes out, they're a huge asshole, they're doing whatever it is that they're doing, they're making bad takes on Twitter or whatever. But at the end of the day, that's one person, right? In a sea of thousands and thousands of people all working on one project together. And it kind of comes down to, do you not want to support this thing because of this one person or that may be, very unconnected from it, like J.K. Rowling, or maybe very much part of it. But you do have to keep in mind there are a lot of people, especially with these larger releases, that work on these games. And so, is it worth, not purchasing and not supporting these other people that probably have nothing to do with it? I'm not saying there is, a right or wrong answer. It's just, I feel like that's kind of what it comes down to.
There's also the arguments that people make where it's like, if you boycott the game, you're not going to hurt the developers, you're only going to hurt J.K. Rowling.
Oh no, you will.
Which is completely nonsense.
I do not know.
You're hurting the developers far more than J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling will be fine without the income.
People say that the developers have already been paid for the game, which is not true.
That is maybe. It depends on the studio, but largely, like, development is paid for at the start, but then them making anything else in the future is going to be entirely dependent on the sales of this.
And also, there are future jobs, because if the game doesn't sell, they're not going to be making anything. They're going to be fired, or the studio is going to be dissolved. You're hurting the developers much more.
Exactly, because that's the thing. Whether or not
and this information is coming from game developers and people in the gaming industry.
Right. Whether or not you're paid during development or however much kind of depends on, like Ryan said, the studio or whichever position that you're in. It really, really depends. And also, there are so many stories. Just go on the Matt McMuscle's channel and his series What Happened. There are so many stories of studios that are hired by larger publishers to make a game. The game doesn't do well. The studio shuts down because of it. Countless studios have been shut down because of this very, very thing. So to say that they're already protected because they've already been paid is just ridiculous, and that's not true at all. It's such a volatile industry, and you never, like, even the biggest publishers and studios are at risk at any time.
Yeah. And I'm going to end this segment on J.K. Rowling by saying, hey, go donate to something like the Trevor Project, a great charity that is dedicated to ending just the stigma against a lot of LGBT people and creating a better world for LGBTQ youth. Great thing to do. Good way to not give any credit to J.K. Rowling, I think. So that or another project that supports trans youth. All right. Moving on to the Hogwarts Legacy talk. And man, isn't it depressing that we have to do that before we can talk about this game?
Every single time. Every time.
I'm going to end up cutting that segment out and just putting it up as its own video. have it there.
Dropping it in every time we're about to talk about Hogwarts Legacy just because.
Have it on autoplay. All right. So, Hogwarts Legacy, created by, I believe, Portkey is the studio title. Portkey Games, which is a created game studio dedicated to this. I mean, double check that it is Portkey. May not actually be Portkey. I think that's called a different thing. But it's a studio that is not known for anything else, largely. It's a separate entity. It's Avalanche. They called them Avalanche, didn't they? Yeah, Avalanche Software, not Avalanche Games. Or Avalanche Studio, which is an important distinction because we're going to talk about Avalanche later in this episode as well. So, Avalanche, the developers of Just Cause, are not the same Avalanche that is creating Hogwarts Legacy. Very different game, very different developers. Largely, this team has worked on mobile titles. They supported Disney Infinity and a few other Disney properties. Nothing particularly bad. I don't think nothing here that stands out, but a lot of licensed games like the Cars games. So I think it's very clear that this is not a studio that has created something of the scale of Hogwarts Legacy. We have had previews of this game that have largely been positive, but those are of course time limited. Probably, I think they said about 2-hour previews. So, I want to get an up-down on this. How are people feeling about this game? Do we think it's going to be a good game? Do we think it's going to be a bad game? Do we think it's going to be a 7 out of 10?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I like the way the game looks. I love the idea of walking around a magical castle with a moving staircase. And I also saw some of the UI, and it's organized a lot like Destiny's UI with gear equipping.
That's the thing that I have heard, which makes me think of the number 7. Not only because of Bungie, haha, but because I think that is probably where this game is going to land, depending on how much Destiny there is. Because the only thing that I have heard is that people keep comparing it to Destiny, and I don't
Really?
know.
Which is a
I only
weird
heard that about that in the
comparison
UI.
for
Is there
a Hogwarts game, right?
is there other stuff
Yes.
like gameplay that you saw that was comparable, or
There's build crafting. There's some like
Yeah.
things in here that are
cool.
really, because this is
Jeez.
super far away from any other Harry Potter stuff, because it is way more of an RPG from what it seems, where it's really with all the trappings of an RPG, like stats and things like that. So I'm curious to see how far that goes in terms of spell build crafting, because that's how they've said it, is like you have to match the color element of your spell to enemy shields to like break their shields.
Oh, it is Destiny.
Duel them, which is directly Destiny. That's a Destiny
Because
mechanic.
like in so many other games, it's okay. You use the opposing element to break this thing. Oh, water is good against fire. Grass is good against water. Use electric on electric.
Yeah, match the colors.
Yeah.
There's also things where they've said like you can augment your build to make certain spells better, and I'm like, those words in that order don't make sense to me until I see it in front of me. Like that sentence is nonsense until I see what that actually means.
But I also do like the gear slots. It's like something for your head, like glasses or a hat. Maybe it's both of those. There's a scarf, and then there's robes and things like that.
Yeah, it's very funky.
I love optional scarves, and Hi-Fi Rush did customizable scarves too once you finish the game.
I do love the UI they have for the menu. I think looks very nice. It's like all card based and textbook looking. It's a fun little UI for it. But I am just again super curious what you guys think this is going to land as. So Brett's a 7.
This is probably the game that I've felt most apathetic to of all the upcoming games. Anytime there's new like gameplay presentations and stuff, I don't care. and I don't know why, because it's not like I'm not a fan of Harry Potter. I've actually read all the books. I read them when I was younger. I've watched all the movies many times. I like this franchise. I don't know. I look at it and I'm like, this all looks fine. I don't know.
people grow out of a Harry Potter phase. It could have been, that's your childhood, and now it doesn't really jazz you as much anymore. That's perfectly understandable.
I mean, I still watch the movies. I think the last time I saw them was, if you remember, Ryan, we watched them when we were in Montreal. We watched all of them because we had a friend who hadn't seen them, and so we wanted to catch him up on all of them. And I still really like them. There's a lot of nostalgia for it. I look at this and I just don't.
Do you think for you it's because there's not a lot to grasp onto that relates to that franchise? Like, there's not a lot of sticking power since it's set way in the past.
No, I mean, I'm fine with that. I always like taking something that I know and then, looking at it from a different point of view or a different time period or something. It's not that. It's really hard to say. I look at it. It's really hard to say why. I just look at it and I'm like, I don't know. Sure.
It's fine.
It's a weird, because you can tell they've tried to like hit the perfect middle ground where it's like, okay, we'll feature the Harry Potter staples enough that Harry Potter diehard fans will want to play, but we'll have it be in a different period of time, and it's far enough from the rest of Harry Potter where people who don't know anything about Harry Potter or don't care are gonna feel more comfortable latching on. But I don't know. I like 50% didn't care when like things were first coming out about it, and it was like a Harry Potter, and I was like, oh, that's probably cool. And then I think it literally happened mid-episode over the last couple like weeks or something when we were talking about what a Harry Potter game might entail, and then it finally hit me that I 100% don't care because that sounds boring as sin.
Yep.
But and that's the thing.
Harry costs like one spell in the entire
Exactly.
first 2 movies.
Yeah.
And it works.
Is it Wingardium Leviosa or Expelliarmus? Because Expelliarmus
I don't
is the one
know.
that
It's
it works for a movie or a book or something because you're like watching that build up to that moment. It's really hard to pull something like that off in a game, and you're not following Harry's story anyway, so that specific thing doesn't really matter. But it's I wonder how much of the rating, critic wise and community wise, and player base in general wise, is going to be affected by how much people give a crap about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do know that.
Oh yeah, are we talking critic rating for the overall rating, or are we talking?
Yeah, I'm thinking both. So my critic rating guess for this is a weak 8 or a strong 7. I think it's going to be between like 78 and 82.
I think it's going to deserve more, but I think some critic outlets are going to be bending to public opinion and giving it close to a 6.
We'll see, because I think public opinion for this is weird because we're very tied
and I'm also
to circles
with
of
public
people
opinion. I'm also
like
worried that it's going to be review bombed, which is a distinct possibility with the
for user stuff for sure. It's
yeah.
going to be review bombed. I think I can guarantee you this is going to be review bombed. And yeah, I think that it's just a weird situation. I don't think any critics are going to dock this game points because of the things happening around the owner of Harry Potter as a franchise. But I could certainly see that being the first line of every single review is, we do not support J.K. Rowling or something similar.
I think it's been both the first and the last for a lot of things, but I hope the reviews don't bend to public pressure and they give it an honest review on what it deserves, but
at the same time, I suspect the reason that I would cap this at like an 82 is I don't think my trust in a first-time studio to nail a type of game that I have never seen before is low. It could happen. It has happened before. Supergiant does it all the time. But I'm a little iffy.
Okay, but also Supergiant never has done anything close to this scale before. That's the other thing we have to keep in mind, is that this studio hasn't made anything close to.
It's a AAA studio. Like, this is a huge production, which is crazy to think about. Like, this is almost like I would equate this to 343 structure, or back in the day of a studio that was put together to make a game.
Yeah.
Rather than veterans who are good at that type of game. Because again, these people have been making games for a long time. The studios existed for a while, but they've been making very different things, and I don't know how much of that will translate to Hogwarts Legacy. Hopefully a lot. Hopefully it is a good representation of them as a group, which I suspect it is, because this is an IP that people care about, and that goes a long way to devs caring. So I'd suspect that this game comes out and is at least treated well by the developers, but who knows what could have slipped through the cracks. I'm waiting for there to be some core flaw that's going to end up docking like 10 points from every single reviewer.
Yeah. And I try not to be that person that looks at every time a game is delayed and proclaims it's a bad sign, but this game has been delayed several times from what I remember. Which again, I don't want to be that person that just sees that every single time a game is delayed it's going to be bad, but it is something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's something to keep in mind.
I feel like you get like two big delays, and then if you keep doing it after that, it's like, all right, now I'm getting a little nervous, because everybody always says that one. I think it's a Shigeru Miyamoto quote that I can't remember exactly, but it's like, if you delay a game, it means it'll take a little longer. It'll come out great. That works like once or twice, and then after a while, it's like, all right, I'm scared. It's been maybe years, maybe over a decade since we've last heard about it. That would be a good segue, wouldn't it? And I am worried for this product that is maybe not even going to come out.
Yeah. And also that quote was from a time where, you could really patch a game up after the fact, which I don't recommend anyone does, but
definitely a different time though.
Reversals have happened. Redemption stories have happened.
All right, well, we'll find out tomorrow where this lands. It'll be an interesting look at review scores, I think. Because this is really one of the most unknown games I think we've had in a long time. So I'm curious to see. All right, well, let's dive into our main topic for tonight. We have a lot of games that went missing. They're missing in production. They're completely vanished from anything since they were shown. There's some that are certainly more wild than others, and I think I'm going to start us out on one that is a pretty curious vanishing act right now, which is Star Wars Eclipse.
Right.
The thing?
Yes.
Where is it?
Number 9.
Where is it, Ryan?
Where'd it go? David Cage, where'd it go?
Yeah.
What's happened to Star Wars Eclipse? This is David Cage's Quantic Dreams Star Wars game that was announced, and we've since had a ton of rumors that it's being either canceled or completely they're having difficulty hiring people because David Cage is apparently not a great person to work for.
Imagine, okay, can I just say, imagine how terrible it must be to work with you if you can't get anyone to make a Star Wars game. Let's really put that into perspective for a second.
Yeah. I will say this is far from the longest game we have on the list in terms of when we last heard about it. We heard about this in 2021.
We'll get to that.
But it was just sequel. A cinematic trailer, and we don't know. We have not gotten any hard answer on what type of game this is. Nothing indicating what it is. It's Quantic Dream, so presumably a very story-heavy, dialogue-based game, but who knows? Because it's David Cage, and he's done some wild stuff in the past, and will probably continue to do wild stuff as long as the public allows him to. So
didn't they say someone said it was open world. Someone said it was open world. I remember this. God. I remember this to be true. This wasn't like some leak or whatever. I remember it's some like interview after it was revealed or whatever. Let's
look at StarWarsEclipse.com/game.
I remember us talking about it and being
there
like,
can't be much on this website, right?
It's gotta be like a PowerPoint presentation. Yeah.
All right, here's their things. A new action-adventure, multiple-character branching narrative game set in the High Republic era.
You're insane,
by Quantic Dream and Lucasfilm Games, now early in development.
Stop. Action-adventure? So, like, there's, like, gameplay?
Exactly. Maybe that's what it was.
Cage game?
The action comes in QuickTime events.
we had, like, a very short discussion about this. We were like,
87 stab wounds.
This doesn't sound like a Quantic Dream game at all. What is he cooking? What is David Cage cooking? And
meth.
We have yet to know.
Yeah, I'll read the next line here. The next little thing they have: Star Wars TM Eclipse lets you play as a diverse cast of charismatic characters, each with their own story, abilities, and role to play in the tapestry of events that could alter the carefully balanced peace of the Outer Rim. Man. That sounds like every Star Wars story ever, and also none of them at all, because peace is not a thing. I don't know what's going on here. It doesn't imply anything to me. That's just, again, saying there's multiple characters that you play as.
I mean,
like multiple Quantic Dream titles.
I'm still in this phase as someone who somehow, despite everything, still likes Star Wars. And I'm in this zone right now of like, EA isn't the only person making Star Wars games anymore. So whenever I hear that there's a new Star Wars game coming out that has nothing to do with EA, I'm immediately going to get excited just because I want more Star Wars games, you know? But yeah, I don't know about
nothing
this,
here
man.
Is inspiring confidence right now.
I mean, listen, like I'm all here for like an action focused, branching narrative Star Wars game. The High Republic is an era that I'm not really familiar with. We have to know more. Right? It's impossible to say.
Yeah. Well, there is one more. There's one more blurb here, Wyatt. It says choices have consequences. Every decision you make can have dramatic repercussions on your journey. The way of life in the Outer Rim is being threatened, and you must define your path.
Oh my god!
If this is what they brought to the pitch, it wouldn't have been accepted. This sucks.
Because there's nothing here. There's no detail.
There's nothing.
It's just Outer Rim.
Or, here's the thing, though. I'm going to come back again. EA isn't the only one making Star Wars games anymore. We're still in a giant Star Wars game drought. So I mean, you could kind of pitch whatever you want right now because
Yeah,
the
'cause
floodgates have opened. People want more Star Wars games. Put everything you want out there.
Just something.
Yeah.
Just give me something that I can play. Hopefully at some point.
Exactly.
Man, I put it in now. Star Wars Eclipse is going to come out and be a 10 out of 10, and everyone's going to be stunned. And then David Cage is going to vanish from this earth and ascend to a higher plane.
David Cage is going to get on a boat and sail to the Westlands.
Or he's just
the
gonna
lands of the
say-
Undying.
Or he's just going to say really stupid shit on Twitter, like even by Twitter standards, and then the whole reception of the game is going to be, I don't know, I don't really support David Cage, but this looks cool, I guess. Then you have to have the disclaimer.
Little neat. All right. Let's talk about some other games that are missing in action right now. Now, I'm going to call you out, Alex, because the one game you put on here I think is actually very interesting, which is Harold Halibut.
Yeah.
I saw this back in 2021.
Which isn't as big of a gap as I thought it was.
But it gets
still
bigger. You see, the original trailer for this game is from 2017, and it says coming 2019.
Oh, so I went on their website because they have a website for the game. The developers are Slow Bros. I think that's and it says there's no date or anything that's too specific. It just says coming soonish.
I'm so curious because I do remember this trailer and it looking interesting. This was one of those oddball trailers that was like, hey, what's going on here? And the last Twitter post from this developer was in...
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Oh no, we've
He
lost
died.
him.
He's doing
Oh, there we go.
What happened?
Yeah, uncrangle the Twitch stream.
He went where Harold Halibut.
I'm alive.
Harold Halibut really just took it to you.
Yeah, I got halibuted.
Yeah, the last post from this
halibut
developer that isn't a reply to something else is from August 2022. But the last reply is someone asking, what's the greatest game show trailer of all time? And then replying with their own trailer from 2021 at September 8th, 2022. So they're around. They exist.
It's a really cool looking game that is entirely claymation and actual. I think they say it's actual claymation. That's not just computer graphics to look like claymation.
That's crazy.
I do vaguely remember them doing a trailer that was a mix of it. They showed how they were making it, and it was very cool. I'm curious.
Cool.
I'm very curious.
Oh, did they photo scan clay models in? I think they might have done that.
So I don't know how much they've said about
really
the gameplay itself, but all I'm seeing here, their description of their gameplay is contemporary mechanics, which whatever that means.
All right, David Cage, you're good. You get through the program. You're all right. This guy, holy crap!
I don't know what contemporary mechanics is supposed to mean because that can mean a lot of different things, but.
I have to expect this is going to play like a David Cage game. If anything, that's my expectation here. Is that this will play something like Heavy Rain.
Think there's going to be QuickTime events for a little clay man?
I hope so. I hope we have an insane QuickTime event that suddenly he starts flying in midair and doing kung fu. Give me Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy again.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm very curious because I think everything that is shown here looks great, but we haven't seen anything that resembles gameplay. So I'm very curious. Yeah, you can scroll down on this website and see the making of trailer, which is very cool. They show how they put things together. Yeah,
cool stuff. I'm a big fan of claymation.
I don't know. I wonder when this is going to come out. Maybe COVID hit them hard. That's also
soonish.
Very possible.
I wonder
the
if
most likely scenario.
Like all the times in the past, I say all the times that I can only think of Cuphead, that we've seen the game being made in a very analog, old school style of animation for everything. It always takes a really long time, for they hit like especially visually, even if you're not a fan of like super crazy hard games like Cuphead, you have to respect like the art there is crazy well made. and super tightly animated, even just from an animation standpoint.
Oh yeah.
And you can tell from the making of video, and just you can't make a claymation anything and not care. Like, come on, you can't make a claymation anything and somehow like get lazy or like not care, just be in it for the money. We're like, no, that takes a lot of heart. So I have to imagine that's why it's taking so long.
Yeah. And I don't claim to be an animation to know anything about animation, but I have to imagine that claymation is just so much more complicated than 2D
it takes
animation.
an agonizingly long time. Imagine typical claymation movies shot at 24 frames per second. What is this going to mean if the game has to be at 30 frames a second?
Yeah.
Hopefully they're going to keep it at 24.
I imagine they might kind of pull them the way the Miles Morales Spider-Verse suit works in Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, where the character animation is at 24, but you're playing at your regular frame rate.
Still, those are hundreds of keyframes and shots to take.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I assume that's why it's taking so long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's why the 3 years past the date they had set. Which
Plus,
I don't judge them for that. But.
I mean, it's so ambitious to have contemporary game mechanics in your video game. I can't even imagine how long that takes to implement.
my new ongoing theory is that the game is done. They haven't figured out what contemporaneous mechanics are yet. So they're still
put that in the
figuring that out.
Like, what is
this game is so before this game is so before its time. It's so advanced. We're not ready for it yet.
Well,
they're waiting for the mechanics in it to become contemporary.
It's so contemporary that the second that it happens, it'll be in the past and it won't be contemporary anymore. So they just don't know what to do yet. They have to figure out some kind of weird time bubble shift thing. Otherwise it won't be contemporary anymore. It'll be past gameplay mechanics, and that just won't. It's not good enough.
Yeah, they got to be ahead of the time.
Exactly.
Is this going to have Strand type gameplay? We'll see.
God.
And I can't wait for Harold Halibut to take out a bridge baby.
Yep. All right. Okay, I want to move us on to the next game that I have on this list, which is Perfect Dark. And Perfect Dark is the poster child for what we were going to talk about here. We saw this game in 2020. It was announced at an Xbox show.
Microsoft show.
And since then, it has been largely radio silence. We know very little. It's by The Initiative, which is a team that was formed to create this game. The wrinkle in this is that the team was supposedly up to half of the core development team of Perfect Dark apparently left production in 2021. The wording of that is unclear to me. This is from VGC. I don't know if the wording there implies, hey, half the development team was fired, or half the development team got up and left and formed a different studio. Like, I don't know what that's implying, but it doesn't sound good. Yeah, that can't be good. And then Crystal Dynamics was brought on as a co-op help, essentially. Crystal Dynamics has also had quite the shakeup in the last couple of years. In terms of being no longer part of Square Enix, to having an uncertain future, to Avengers essentially going down in flames. So
it's all quite fitting, because I feel like the development of this game has been anything but perfect, and all of us have been left in the dark about it.
Yep, which is great because the original Perfect Dark is a very highly regarded FPS game. So I am so curious to see where this lands in the scale. Oh,
you
reboots.
You mean Perfect Dark Zero, the Xbox 360 launch title?
Oh, definitely not. Oh no, absolutely not that one.
And as we all know, Microsoft definitely, they have the bandwidth, the space, the budget, the everything to deal with another flopped science fiction FPS game. So it's okay if this one doesn't do so well.
It's not like Microsoft's best thing to come out in many, many years is Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, it's not even like a close contest either.
A game that was shadow dropped and didn't have any marketing whatsoever.
God.
Hi-Fi Rush is an excellent game, but man, I am so curious what that says about Microsoft's exclusives right now. Or even not even exclusive, just first-party releases, because there hasn't been a lot. I mean, Pentiment's good, but that's also Obsidian. So
yeah,
not as bombastic either is Hi-Fi. I don't think.
Yeah, very, very not bombastic. I want to see
Forza's
Xbox
always
come out
good.
swinging with a AAA.
Forza's always good, but that's kind of like a given at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Forza does not have, I would say, the wide appeal of
No.
a standard AAA like action game.
You wouldn't really say it's a driving force for the.
All right, on to the next game.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of Forza, Playground Games is responsible for another game on this list.
Right.
That
They
is
are
not a
responsible for
driving game.
Fable.
I forgot.
Not
Right.
a driving game,
Yeah.
notably. We have heard nothing about Fable since its reveal
Literally.
in 2020.
I will say, for applying to jobs, at least that I've seen on LinkedIn and their site, they have not had job postings in at least 5 to 7 months.
That could be a
for,
good sign. That could mean they're starting to wrap up. But at the same time, different developers do different things. Who knows what the actual... It's hard to read into job listings for a game that is not released yet. So I want to know what the state of this is.
And that sucks because I feel like the world is ready for more Fable. Especially
Absolutely.
Fable games that don't have Peter Molyneux attached to it.
After people were legitimately disappointed that Fable Legends got canceled, the weird action spin-off, I think it is like there is some legitimate curiosity about Fable, especially because all the old games, like Fable's not available on anything else. It's all Xbox exclusive. You can play 1 on PC, which is okay, but 2 and 3 are the ones that I think a lot of people remember more fondly. So I'm so curious to see if this is going to be a well-received launch.
And it's not like they don't have a good team behind it. Playground Games, I mean, they haven't made anything like this before, but
they have
putting out
super
Forza games,
rarely put a game out that is below like an 8 out of 10. Like, great developers. So I trust that developer is doing everything they can. But man, I just want to know something. This is bizarre about the complete radio silence that we're having for this game.
That's the note that I put for this for the next game down the list, and we don't have to talk about that next. But I just want to, because we multiple times now we've come up on there's been a reveal, and then we are 2 or 3 years later at this point, and we have heard almost nothing except for like minor bad news, if anything, about a game. And I just again, I think about Hi-Fi Rush and how that game was announced, and then 5 seconds later came out to resounding success. And I wonder, it might not work for anything, but how much better is a Shadow Drop than having to wait 8 years without anything for a game?
I think 2 years is the cutoff. Once a game's been announced for 2 years, especially if I mean 2 years of radio silence, of we've heard nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just what's going on? There's some cases where that's kind of okay. I think Elder Scrolls is an example of people just wanted to know that there is going to be another one. Mm-hmm. It's less important to know about the game right now because they're working on something else. So we know it's being developed. It's just going to come after Starfield.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the mentality is well, if they don't hear what we're working on, they might.
But Fable's weird to me. If you're gonna reboot Fable, why do it by a cinematic trailer with nothing?
If I had to guess,
grasp onto.
If I had to guess, I think this was done at a time where people were beginning to realize that Microsoft hasn't had a lot to show, right? And so they're like, okay, we have this super early, pre-production Fable game. Let's just throw something together, surprise everyone, bring some attention to the platform, and and that's it. That's I feel like that was kind of the goal. And now we're just waiting for the game to actually be made. And I'd imagine, I mean, I don't know how big Playground Games is, right? And I just imagine because those Forza games come out at it is a assembly line production, and I mean that in a good way. Those games come out at a consistent time. They're polished. They know what they're doing when they're making a racing game. But trying to find the time to make supposedly an open world action RPG in between all of that, I'm assuming there's 2 different teams, but there's probably a lot of talent going back and forth.
Forza Motorsport is largely handled by Turn 10. which is the original Forza developers. They cooperate with Playground on pretty much all the other Forza games. Playground was largely responsible for the Horizon games, which are extremely well received. It's like no shade on them for that, but they aren't the only developers for Forza. Forza is a large development project that has the developers listed are Playground Games, Turn 10 Studios, Xbox Game Studios, and Sumo Digital. So a lot goes into a single Forza game, so it's not that just one is happening.
Yeah.
I also imagine with Forza, you're kind of trying to mimic real life, which I think is a lot easier for developers to do without the need for like a strong creative vision, like something like Fable needs. There's like a line there that I think is what happens when you see a certain Ubisoft games come out and not really have anything stand out in them. For a racing game, that's fine, because it'd be really weird if the racing game didn't mimic reality to some degree. So I think it's a weird scenario here where we have no idea what the developer is capable of in regards to Fable as a action RPG, but I'm excited to see, and I want to know more. I think that's where I'm landing on Fable. I would just like something. I just want a snippet of gameplay, just some indication that it's a real game. I think would be great. All right. Let's talk about a game that I think is even more strange, because there's so many rumors behind the scenes about Everwild that
man,
I don't know what to think. So repeatedly, we have been told this game has been rebooted behind the scenes from the rumor mill. More recently, since the last time they showed it, which was a lot more recently, I believe it was the Xbox Game Showcase last year. They showed it off again with a cinematic trailer that looked beautiful, and then there was a rumor coming out afterwards that the game like isn't playable. Like there's not a playable game, and they hadn't decided what the structure of it would be, and that's concerning. That's very concerning.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It looks really cool too. It looks like it has a beautiful art style.
Yeah,
like when a rumor happens, it's like you always, no matter what, take it with a grain of salt. But it's like, why the rumor being about this weird thing that like nobody would want to make up anything bad about? It's very strange to not be like, what? Why would someone make this up? This seems a little strange. I'm now worried about this because
they must really hate Sea of Thieves.
Well, the big reason is why Everwild is Rare, and Rare has done very little since Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
And that's bizarre, being that Rare is a renowned old school developer. Like Rare is one of the
and to be clear, I feel like a lot of the people that work at Rare now, I feel like there's very few people that work at Rare now that made Donkey Kong Country, Killer Instinct, all these classic games.
I think with Sea of Thieves, they've proven that they can make a very high quality game. So why are they being relegated to the live service pirate game?
I don't know. It's
just very strange. It's a strange developer to have handle this. I want to know what Everwild is. I don't. I have no indication of what it actually is. So what I'm going off of for it.
What I'm going off of, I mean, what we're all going off of is the two cool looking cinematics that we've gotten. Cool looking as in visually they look cool and the music was nice sounding. And the fact that Sea of Thieves now is a really great game and has a really interesting sandbox. And given the game's title and its focus on the environment, I would imagine that maybe it has more sandbox elements, because that seems like that's where Rare's head is at the moment. But it's hard to say, I want more. I feel like every time an Xbox showcase comes around, it's like, I want to know what's going on with Everwild. What's up? What's up with that?
It's kind of weird that they weren't part of the developer direct. So that is
a lot
worrying.
Of games weren't part of developer, because it's weird we didn't see Perfect Dark. It's weird we didn't see Fable. It's weird we didn't see a lot of things.
James
strange.
But the things that we did see looked good, so I'm not salty about that, because I think it was about what games were ready to be shown to that degree, rather than
Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, it's like everything there was pretty much ready to go, so I'm not salty about that. All right, well, Everwild, we'll talk about it again inevitably, whether or not it gets canceled or comes out again. They have stated that recently they're targeting a 2024 release date, and that words like Matt Booty has said words like reboot and restarted are a little bit too extreme for what apparently happened. So maybe it's not as bad as those would imply, but at the same time, that's a tacit like agreement that something happened. Like there was a big
we'll get it around
mix-up.
2027 probably.
We'll get it when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. That's
Oh.
Elder Scrolls 6 first.
And then it'll release the day after, and nobody will buy it because everyone's getting Elder Scrolls 6 instead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
There's another big game on here. Another big name that has been startlingly absent, which is Hollow Knight Silksong. I am so curious. So this was shown at the Xbox Developer Showcase, which, or not Developer Showcase. It's shown at the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase from this year, or end of last year, summer last year. Which the big thing for that show was these things are coming in or around 12 months after that show, right? Within that 12-month period, maybe a little bit after. I want to know if Hollow Knight is in that window, because we didn't see a release window in that trailer when they showed it. So that might be like the one exception to it. I'm just curious. I want to know what Team Cherry's up to. I'm sure Silksong is going to be good when it releases. I don't think that's in doubt, but it's very strange that this game was revealed in 2019 and we're getting this very slow drip feed of info about it instead of a reveal and release, which I think is what a lot of people have expected.
Because I feel like Team Cherry, I don't know if they did anything before Hollow Knight, but Hollow Knight is like, you would be very hard pressed to find a human being on this earth that has played Hollow Knight and doesn't like it.
Even if they haven't finished it, which is bizarre.
Which is I have not finished it because there's too much to do.
But I like it quite a lot.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people think it's like a perfect masterpiece, which, hey, that's warranted for the amount of stuff that is there that you get for your money when you get that game. I feel like Team Cherry really could have gotten away with just like, I don't need to know what they're doing next. I know it's going to be good. And then 6 months out from
they could have rested on the
Super
Supergiant laurels.
Exactly.
Well, I was about to say, or the FromSoft laurels, where it's like whatever they make, it's going to be good. I'll wait as long as I need to wait. It's fine. You know,
but like you do the thing now where it happened with Elden Ring a little bit, where you announce it, and to a much lesser degree Elden Ring, because we got some trailers spread out over the like 2-ish years we ended up having to wait. But it just doesn't feel good to have this drip feed for something that you're that excited for. It really sucks.
Yeah.
It's become a meme by this point that people are just saying it's never going to come out. Obviously it is. But yeah.
All right. I think that's about all we can say about Silksong. We have very little to go on for Silksong.
Yeah.
They have shown gameplay recently, so we know the game is a real game.
Hollow Knight was very good. I have Ghost Song to tide me over.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Moving on to a game that is releasing soon. Releasing this year, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Right.
Now, the reason I put this on the list is there's been a few things going on with this game. First of all, Rocksteady, developer that carries a lot of weight, developer of the Arkham games, which are very highly regarded Batman games. This is their next project, which is apparently set in the same continuity as the Batman games.
Oh.
People were a little wigged out when we saw a leaked screenshot of the character select for this game recently, which is why I put it on this list.
Yes.
Because it was the classic like trophy case menu with characters in their little standing area with all their fancy cosmetics applied. And that does imply a level of microtransaction and handling that I think a lot of people are a little wigged out at.
Can't blame them.
Oh, what it is with superhero games and slapping a live service model onto them, but it's got to stop because it doesn't work. It has to stop.
When someone realized that all these different multiverses exist and that it would be more fun for the company to not just, have you unlock them through challenges or in-game currency and to make you pay real money for all of these conveniently already designed outfits to model and put in. That's the beginning of the downfall of man. Certainly the downfall of the Avengers. And every single game that looks like it's doing this is like, dude, no one wants this, and it sucks. And this game's gonna come out, it's gonna be $70 already, and you're gonna be asking. You don't actually know if it's gonna be $70, but that's what a lot of games are going for nowadays. So it's a good chance
It's gonna be $70.
And like
It'll
on
be
top
$70.
You're asking for either a season pass or like, here's your deluxe edition outfit set for $20 more. You get I don't know, you get a jorts for King Shark to wear.
King Shark.
I don't know. It's just, it's. I understand why people are worried because it seems very stupid.
Yeah, my only hope is that it's Rocksteady. This is a good developer. They know how to make a good video game 3 times in a row. My hope is that if this is a paid game with live service elements, they at the very least take inspiration from paid games with a live service that have done it correctly. And what I'm saying here is just do what Deep Rock Galactic is doing.
Yes, squeeze it
All
in.
right. I gotta say it again, man. Deep Rock Galactic, paid game, Battle Pass, live service, does it perfectly. Implemented it years after the game came out. No one's upset about it. If they even take a fraction of what that game is doing, it'll be in a much better place than most superhero live service games, or just live service games, full stop.
Mm-hmm. I'm also very curious because I think this trophy case menu design implies to me that this is, first of all, not open world. That type of menu I don't think would go well with an open world game. It implies to me that it's some type of mission-based thing, which actually makes me kind of happy. Like that seems like a good spot for this to be in, is a mission-based co-op action shooter. I think is a little bit more convincing than an open world one. Just the structure feels like it fits to the play session of a group of people a little bit better than open world. I just want to know what this actually looks like, because we've seen a gameplay trailer.
Yeah, we have.
It's quote-unquote gameplay. That is very much not gameplay. It's like they show a couple seconds of what is probably an engine footage, and then the rest you just can't tell because it's a cutscene.
We've seen 2 cinematics, 1 quote-unquote gameplay trailer, and a very confusing Kevin Conroy tribute. That's all we've seen. That's awkward. It.
Yeah, I mean it's clearly a game. I hope it comes out and is good because I like what Rocksteady does, and I think there's a lot of potential here for this to be very good. I just hope they don't repeat the things that people didn't like about some of the Arkham games, and go with the stuff that people did like stuff like unlockable suits are very fun. And I don't know, if I'm playing Captain Boomerang and I have to swap out Captain Boomerang's boomerang every couple of levels for a higher light level boomerang, I'm gonna be like, God. What is going on?
Screw that.
Part of me hopes they've spent. This game has been in development, I feel like, for so long. They've looked around and they've read the room in terms of how to do a live service properly, and they're taking all of that into consideration. Because if this comes out and it falls into all the same trappings, I'm going to be like, what have you been doing? What?
Yeah, seriously.
But, Rocksteady, good developer. I really hope they read the room and they're like, all right, if we're going to do a live service, this is what people want. And if it's a paid game, we got to really relax on how restrictive we make a paid battle pass, if they should even implement one in the first place. But that's a whole other.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing to do.
Just look at Deep Rock Galactic. Just look at what that's doing. Just do that. Listen. It's simple.
Is this the one that Samoa Joe is in, Ryan?
Yes.
What?
Samoa Joe
my God, that's right.
King Shark.
Rocksteady. Are you gonna let Samoa Joe be in a bad?
Are you gonna mess up the Cereal Man?
Are you gonna let Samoa Joe be in a bad video game?
You're gonna do that to him?
I think Samoa Joe is gonna be what makes the game really good.
That's the one thing that I've been very interested to see, is that I've for the longest time, as long as I've been watching Samoa Joe, I've always thought this guy would make a great voice actor, and now he's doing it because his voice sounds perfect for King Shark and whatever other grizzly character he can be cast as. Don't let Samoa Joe be in a bad game. He's already in multiple WWE 2K games. Don't make the list any longer.
Let Samoa Joe be the next Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Let him get into more voice acting roles.
God.
Let this be the springboard of his career.
Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. That's what we think about it. We'll see when it comes out. Moving on to one of our... I'm curious if anyone even remembers this game, which is Ereban Shadow Legacy.
Nope.
The only reason I remember this is because it looked like Origami.
It does, doesn't it?
Sci-fi game that we totally thought was Origami in sci-fi setting.
And there was one shot that felt weird to me, though, even though it was a cinematic thing, where it looked like, and this I don't know why I'm speculating with this because we don't have the game yet. That's why I'm speculating with it. Is that it looked like it was top down for a second or two. That could just be a cool cinematic thing that they did to show, the robot guys who are hunting you are spreading out type thing.
I definitely think there might be some fixed camera angles because they show you moving through some shadow stuff. That makes me think there's going to be fixed camera angles to make that easily visible, which would be fun. There has been slightly more developer talk on this game in 2022 about how the shadow movement works and whatnot, which is very cool. There's a whole in-depth dev discussion on it. So this game's real. We've seen real gameplay of it. The main reason I bring it up is I want to gauge was this shown too early, being shown last year, or do you think we need another trailer in this 8-month period where we haven't seen anything else from this game? Should we have seen more, or is that a comfortable space for a game like this to be in? Of don't show anything else for a year and then show it again when it's ready.
I think it's okay because we got that trailer last year, and I'm literally looking at some gameplay, granted with no UI, but I'm looking at some gameplay with developer commentary as we speak.
This also feels like a game that maybe could get away with no UI.
Oh, absolutely.
Or very limited UI.
Or what UI there is diegetic, like how the first Origami does it. At least.
Because I think with things like this, you have to follow up with gameplay. If you're going to do the cinematic trailer first, you have to have gameplay shortly after, because what happens is people who are excited because it's, maybe it's a sequel or it's a studio that they really care about, their mind is going to run buck wild with what it could be. And by the time you do show gameplay 1-2 years later, it's going to disappoint people because they're going to get all these crazy ideas in their head. You have to follow it up with gameplay ASAP if you're going to go down the cinematic reveal route. Yeah. And I feel like this is probably soon enough. It was revealed last year. We're getting some gameplay. This was what I'm looking at was 5 months ago. I think that's a good amount of time. I think they spaced it out pretty well.
All right.
I will say though, I completely forgot about this, and I had no idea what it was until I looked it up. There are games that have been in development hell supposedly for far longer that I have not forgotten about. I don't think that's an issue of this game looks forgettable because the art style is really cool. It's named something cool, stealth action. There's one game a year comes out in that genre, so it's not like it has a lot of competition of samey stuff.
Though maybe a little bit too close to Raid Shadow Legends in terms of name, but
Raid Shadow Legends and Hogwarts Legacy, Apex Legend, just
so many legends. Wow.
We could have a whole episode on how much I hate that, but
I feel like I don't know. Legend, Alex. You gotta feel like a legend.
Are we going to have a sequel to the bad titles episode?
Oh, certainly.
It's probably gonna happen.
I feel like it could have had a little bit, not like huge trailers every month or whatever, but maybe the devs have a YouTube channel and they show little updates every so often, because otherwise this game's pretty small. I could see it getting kind of swept under the rug in a lot of people's eyes and just being forgotten, which sucks because it looks cool.
All right. Moving on to our next game, which is Pragmata's Kojima looking ass. What's going on with Pragmata, Capcom? I am very curious.
This was announced at the PlayStation 5 reveal. This was like, hey, this is the PS5. This is all the games that's coming out for it. I think the only game.
Oh, this game.
Yeah, I think the only game that hasn't come out from that entire presentation is this, and we have.
We heard it was targeting
no
2023. It's still listed as a 2023 game on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah.
We haven't seen much else.
It's certainly
it looks
it's very
Kojima-esque. And I think a lot of that just comes down to the character design. That kind of astronaut looking suit looks very Kojima to me.
And, or Yoji Shinkawa, I think is what we're
yes, for. Mechanical design.
But listen, it looks wacky. It looks different. What is this? What are we looking at here?
Buildings being sucked into a spiral string in one of the things for it. That is wow.
Also note that Capcom has stated on the Xbox Store page they believe this is going to be a sort of a lucrative franchise. So this is supposedly the start of a franchise as well, becoming one of its core brands.
Which is why they've given us so much information about it, because they're clearly so excited that they haven't talked about this game in 3 years.
Dude. I think Pragmata's weird enough that we're gonna get a trailer and it's gonna be like, this releases in 2 months. Like this is gonna be a quick turnaround.
But that's dangerous. We're a couple implied lines of the English language away from this will be a fantastic game that will last our community 10 years. And I don't think that's ever actually panned out for any game that the developers have said that about. I don't know. You gotta, like, unless you have the franchise ready and this is coming out and there's like an anime short coming along with it and a series of books and figures you can get right out of the gate, don't call it a franchise, because there's a possibility that this could come out and nobody will care because it's new.
You know what game that came out and tried to be this whole big franchise and it eventually fell flat on its face? Dead Space. EA was pushing that so hard. We got 3 games, we got a terrible anime, and then it just fell flat on its face, and it took many, many years for a remake to come out.
Oh, there's also a holographic cat.
Well, then it's going to be a masterpiece.
I mean, this is
wait. No, it's not holographic. It has organs and a skeleton and a ghost on top.
Nice.
Ghost cat with accoutrement.
With accoutrement. This is a Capcom proper game. So this isn't a sub-developer. This is Capcom proper. Which does give me enough confidence, because I think pretty much everything Capcom has released in the past couple of years has been a hit.
Yeah.
So I don't doubt that the team can do this. I just want to play it because I feel like this is going to be such a weird game. Just in terms of aesthetics. I don't know if the gameplay is going to be weird. Maybe not. Maybe the gameplay will just be Resident Evil 2 remake again, which I'm fine with, but I want to know. I want to know what this game plays like. In Capcom, I want to know how much money this game has cost you.
Yeah, seriously, my God.
That trailer looked expensive, and if that is any indication of how the game will play, it's going to be an expensive game to produce.
Yes.
So I'm so curious. All right, moving on to there's a couple key games on here that I want to talk about before we're done, which is Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
What's going on, Nintendo? Where the game at, Nintendo?
I feel like it's very rare for Nintendo to be having a game with this prolonged of a development
with proper
cycle.
Development. Actually, no, I'm gonna take that back, Wyatt. It's very common for Nintendo to have this every Zelda game.
Surprisingly, every Zelda game, Pikmin 4 iconically also taking forever. I think 3,
Luigi's Mansion.
2,
But I mean, with a game that's announced and then Zelda, yes, but I feel like with a lot of their properties, it's like, here's Mario Odyssey. Development went fine. Here it is. It's really good.
Probably.
I think it's because they figured that out. But this is the studio for this game changed. Like, this was not Retro Studio, and now it is. So there was a full development restart after we saw it in 2017. Restarted in 2019. which is lining up with about how long a lot of games take to produce now. Metroid Prime, I imagine, is a large-scale franchise to produce, and I'm going to sneak in my suspicion for this game is that it has been moved to be a launch title for Switch Pro or whatever the next hardware after the Switch is. That's my sneaking suspicion, because Prime 4, that needs some horsepower behind it. You need to be able to render them 3D environments well. And I don't know if they would trust the Switch. I think the Switch is airing at the end of its lifespan at this point. Go out with a bang with Zelda.
Wow.
Tears of the Kingdom, and then release with a bang on the next hardware with Metroid Prime 4.
I feel like also you need to have a 1 through 3 like compilation to play on anything.
It's not gonna happen.
Officially.
I've completely given up on that.
Like a generation has gone by where like Metroid Prime the original is like older than a lot of people today that are like thinking citizens of the world that can choose to buy video games. It's weird. It feels like it's never going to happen.
Metroid Prime was 2002, so it's been a while.
Jesus Christ!
Everyone in here feel old.
You know what else was 2002? Morrowind.
Oh.
Oh god. It feels like it should happen. It also feels like it never will, but for a while it felt like Metroid Prime 4 never would either. So I don't know. Maybe 30 years from now when Nintendo finally realizes that people actually enjoy playing their old games that they grew up with. Maybe they'll make you let you play them.
Let's put it this way. We got Metroid Dread before we got Prime 4. That's how long it's been.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, maybe it'll be that long until we see Prime 4 at this rate. All right. Well, let's move on to our other big missing franchise. I think this is to me, this is the last thing that has fully vanished that I am ultra curious about because it's been in development so long, which is Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Iconic.
Yeah. I want to play as a space monkey. Let me play as a dastardly ape, please.
Because here's the thing. So we're looking at a spreadsheet here, right? We put in the title of the game, what year it was announced and what it was announced at, the developer / publisher and notes, right? That's the little thing we're looking at. I put this entry in, and under the year announced, I put 2008 and 2017. It is the only title on this list.
Oh, wow.
It's the only title on this list. A list with over 30 entries that has 2 different announced dates on it.
It broke Duke Nukem Forever's record. It is now the longest development AAA game at more than 15 years.
God.
Yeah.
And also worth pointing out, for both the developer / publisher and the notes as to why and how it got delayed, you put Ubisoft for both of them, which is. It seems rather fitting.
Yeah,
I'm beginning to sense a pattern.
The only thing that we've heard about this game that is complete theory rumor mill, but I thought it was kind of interesting, is that some of the tech that was made in this game that they have talked about in previous live streams is being used for other things. That's it. And then every bit of gameplay that we've seen has been very rough and very unclear as to what this is. I know at one point they had mentioned that it was at one point when it was originally announced in 2008, it was supposed to be a sequel because we see Jade from the first game in the trailer. But then when they re-announced it in 2017, they said it was a prequel, which means I can't even imagine how many times this must have been restarted to get there. And they've just talked about, you can fly up around the planet. You can fly to other planets. It's supposed to be very open. This is Ubisoft, so good luck with that.
God knows what'll actually happen.
No.
It also just feels very different from like tone wise from the first game. if you were to see a trailer of the first game and then a trailer of this, you wouldn't even think outside of the fact that there's anthropomorphic animals that they were in the same franchise. It's so strange. Ah, man, it's quite an enigma. It truly,
It's super
truly is.
interesting. So I remember Beyond Good and Evil 2 really vividly because they put out this wild marketing thing that has not happened since, which is a hit record page where you can give it's like a fan community competition where your stuff can be put in the game. All right, you can put art and stuff in the game, and if it's chosen to be in the game, you'll be paid a small amount of money. Like for a song, it's $2,000. For an album cover, it's $400. For a Radio Cheetah call-in for the episodes, it's $475.
What?
So there's like some bizarre stuff going on with what?
What is what? What?
I remember this because this ran in such a long time ago. Like so that this was done.
None of that's
the last,
going in.
Development update was in June 29th of 2020.
None of that is going in the game.
And it's so bizarre.
It is kind of shocking of all of, especially the most recently announced canceled projects that Ubisoft has had to pull the plug on. Somehow this is still here. Somehow this game that was originally announced in 2008 is still trucking along. When God knows how many Tom Clancy's XYZ games have just been completely axed just so that this game can keep going.
Think about how many Tom Clancy games have been released.
Yeah. And I'll note
Instead of
something
this
happened
game.
with this because they did pay out $50,000. So they did buy $50,000 worth of things from people that were participating in this challenge, which is bonkers. I'm so curious what this is going to look like if it ever comes out and if this stuff actually is used in the game, because that's insane to me. That's so strange that this is how things were done. Yeah, it's been rumored. It got announced in 2016, and then Ansel, who was one of the core developers of the original Beyond Good and Evil, left the company. So who knows? Who knows what Beyond Good and Evil 2 is at this point? I hope it continues to exist for another 10 years and then just drops randomly. That's my hope for Beyond Good and Evil 2 at this point.
Hey, that would be the biggest. Just have it shadow dropped at an Ubisoft
Crazy.
Direct or something.
Oh my
Wouldn't
god.
that be the most?
Yeah.
Honestly, I would have so much respect if they didn't say a word about this game and it was just like
Especially if
Hi-Fi
it's
Rush style
unfinished.
shadow dropped.
Especially if it's not even done. Like it's
Ubisoft.
early access or something.
Oh no.
And I will read out one of the
man.
pitches for this game that supposedly this is involved in the gameplay. Is the game will have single player and co-op support. Even as single player, the player can participate in a shared universe with some events affecting all players at the
Oh,
same
one
dear
of
time.
God.
these.
Beyond Good
Oh,
and Evil 2 will require an
God.
internet connection to play.
This game's not real. It was a
Required
joke
in-
from the start.
Oh, that's
This
a
is not
death
real.
kiss.
That's
Ugh.
such an insane
Ugh.
pitch.
That's
No
the
engineer looked
thing.
at that before that was pitched. They put that
For
over the head of
sure.
everyone who was involved.
Yeah.
Wild.
Just like the first game was.
Truly
It's like
bizarre.
you hear things like that, and then you immediately understand why it's been in development for so long. Because there's just no how do you even begin to tackle that if someone's not there to bring the scope hammer down and just yeah, you guys, you're I don't know what you were drinking when you wrote this or what the guy who accepted this was on, but we got to do no, this is not going to work out. It's too much.
Just so because it's really easy to be like, oh, we're just gonna add this little thing, but then that little thing spirals out into other little things, and then your development time extends forever. Like I'm sure that's what's happening here. Is
And then your
they've
game
just
has no
never
big
finished
things in
any
it.
one system.
Well, I'm
It's just
just
a bunch of
trying
little-
to, because they have said that development has restarted on it, right? But my question is, how many times? There is no way
Yeah.
11.
a game has been in development for this long and they've restarted it once, twice. No, it has to be 5-6 times or something. Which for a game to completely restart once is already like cataclysmic in so many different areas, but
Yeah.
there's no way. Like, oh my god, I have so many questions. So many questions.
Well, speaking
We'll
of a
never
lot of
have
questions,
answers.
I'm going to move us on to our next pair of games that I want to talk about. First is Hellblade 2. Where are the games at?
Wait, I thought Hellblade 2 came out.
No,
And it just wasn't. Oh wow!
So
I just thought
here's
it
the
came
weird
out and
thing.
was under the radar and was okay.
I think you might have been thinking of Plague Tale Requiem, because they do have a kind of a similar aesthetic. I could see that being a mix-up.
Here's the interesting thing about Hellblade 2, right? It was announced around the time the Xbox Series X was announced, right? I think like
it was billed as like a big exclusive for the Xbox Series X.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. And then we did get gameplay a couple years ago that was barely gameplay. It was like an extended cutscene where Senua threw a spear like twice and walked around. It was visually gorgeous. It was a super interesting looking set piece, but that's what it was. It felt like a set piece where you did
the only type of game
this
that's going to be gameplay for is like a Telltale style game where you're this doesn't represent an actual section of game being played.
I just want to know if her mental state's doing okay. If she's okay after dealing with her suitor's decapitated head.
Are still in the trailers for this, so we know that that's still, because they can't get rid of that at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is another one where it's like, what's going on? Because the thing about Hellblade, the first one, is that it was a very focused game. Like Ninja Theory knew their budget. I think we've talked about this before. They knew what their budget was. They utilized it so well, and this just, I just get the sense that it's one of those, like, it's spiraling out of control. Do I know that for sure? No, but but we've just heard nothing about it for 3 years, and it's like, what's happening? What's going on?
Yeah.
I think there's not a lot to say about this one because we just have so little to go on, and it's just a question of where it at.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next one. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp.
This is gonna make me too sad.
See, the rumor here, I will say there's a rumor currently going around that Nintendo is going to have a direct soon, and this will be shadow dropped. That's
I would love that so
rumor.
much.
I have no idea if that's at all credible. I don't know what the source is for that, but I've been told it by a few friends. So that'd be cool if it happened. This game,
because the game
by
is
all
done.
logic, is done. Like, fully done. It's just waiting to release. And I think the reality is the situation between Russia and Ukraine is not getting better quickly. It's not going to get better quickly. It's a war happening. So that's not going to resolve. Are they going to release this game, or are they just going to let it kind of fade and then drop it in a few years?
I feel like it depends on how much money was thrown at this project.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like that above all else is going to dictate how much longer this just stays. Because it seems like a good sort of I don't want to call it a remaster. I guess it is a remaster on all fronts. It looks great. I think it looks great anyway. There's new voice acting and stuff, but it's not a game that has a large scope, and it is a remake, right? It seems like visuals are being changed, but it seems like the core gameplay is going to stay almost exactly the same. So I can't imagine that this has the biggest budget in the world. But
maybe that's it's a curious situation, because I think most people would not make direct connections between what's going on in Russia and Ukraine and Advance Wars. But there is a faction that is really, really just cartoon Russia, and it's maybe
invading
not
other countries.
Yeah, it's maybe a bad look.
Yeah.
I think
it's accurate.
it's just weird. It's a weird reminder of reality that I think people don't necessarily want. But at the same time, like, these are great games. I hope they do get re-released in this format soon, because I would like to play them. But who knows? All right. Moving on to, I think, what'll probably be our last game to talk about this time, because we still have a few of these that I think we'll get to going on.
I want to talk about one of them specifically.
Go for it.
I do too.
I want to talk about Deep Down for a second.
Oh, Deep Down.
Yeah.
Right past this.
I want to talk about Deep Down. How fascinating. Okay. So if you don't remember, which you probably don't, Deep Down was one of those games that was
Oh my god, I'm looking at footage of it, and now I'm having an intense flashback.
So this was announced at around the time. This was like one of the big games that was trying to show off the power of the PS4. It was like, this is the kind of visuals you're getting, and it looked amazing.
Oh, this was to show off the power of the PS4.
This was playable.
Yes.
Like, this had a show floor demo.
It did. It did. Allow me. So I've done some research on this. This is the plot of the game. All right, I'm gonna paraphrase from a few sources here. So the game takes place in New York City in the year 2094.
Oh,
this is right from the Wikipedia page. The story focuses on a member of a group known as the Ravens, who has the ability to recover historical memories by touching ancient objects. This Raven is brought into contact with excavated objects from a mysterious civilization in Bohemia, dating back to the 15th century, and are asked to use their abilities to explore the city and discover its secrets.
Notably, Capcom extended. So this was revealed in 2013.
Yes.
And Capcom extended their trademark for it in 2018, which implies some intent that this is still being developed.
They have never officially stated whether this game is still in development or not. Here's the other kicker.
This looks like For Honor and Dark Souls from what I've seen from the gameplay. I think this is a gameplay.
Here's the other kicker. What
talking
kind of game does this seem like to you after looking at footage?
Oh, this looks like a roguelike.
Really?
It is apparently a free-to-play co-op game.
What?
That is wild.
My interest is gone. all interest obliterated.
What's fun is there was like a full hour of footage from this game in 2018.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. I was very much excited about. And by the way, Deep Down was like the working title. That's not even the game's official title. It didn't even get to that phase.
You know what I do wonder? I wonder if this might have been converted into Dragon's Dogma 2. I could see this being like an engine conversion to Dragon's Dogma 2.
Oh,
it looks like that type of game in terms of some bare bones visuals and whatnot. So I could have seen them calling it quits and repurposing assets for Dragon's Dogma.
Those are some weird Porky Pig mole men.
Yeah, it's
monsters.
Bizarre.
So I'm also reading here that in early 2015, one of the developers stated in an interview with 4Gamer that the vision of the game has expanded since its initial 2013 reveal to better appeal to the long term to players, so the development timescale has been extended. I think that's like the last thing we update that we've gotten on its development, and that was in 2015.
Yeah, because importantly, the person who said that, Yoshinori Ono, who was the producer at the time, has left Capcom since then. So, who knows?
But I was so excited for this when...
So VGC, which is Video Game Chronicle, reported that their sources had told them that the game was near complete and then shelved. Which is the last like rumor mill thing that's going about. But who knows? Because you never know how
that's sad.
Sources like that are. This game has a subreddit.
Oh my god!
What? They also have the God of War looking rune chests.
Yeah,
but it's not a puzzle. You just open them.
Yeah. That's bizarre. A truly strange situation. Who knows what happened?
It's so weird because like looking at like screenshots and a little bit of gameplay that I'm skimming through right now, if you didn't have your glasses on or something, you'd be like, oh, this is the Demon Souls remake.
Yeah,
definitely the Demon Souls remake, because if you have not played the Demon Souls remake and you saw this, you might not think that there's anything separating it from the Demon Souls remake. And so I wonder like if there's some kind of like identity crisis going on, because it almost doesn't look like its own thing. But like the gameplay seems pretty different. I don't know. This is I've never seen this before in my life until right now.
Well, thank you for
Very
ending us on this
strange.
note, Wyatt, because I'm
Yeah,
so
wow.
curious what's happened with Deep Down.
Seriously.
I want to dive into what happened with this game. All right, well, that's our talk for this. We have more of these games that I'm sure we'll talk about in the next few episodes. Notably, where's Contraband? Where's the James Bond game? Where's a bunch of stuff? So we'll talk about those later when we have more of them to add to the list, and hopefully see something about any of them.
Perhaps.
Be nice if we
All
didn't
right.
have to make this list.
Yeah. In a perfect world, Brett.
All right. Well, that's the end of the show. So we're gonna go to shoutouts. We're gonna do our shoutouts, and then it's over. It's done for. No more episodes.
Ever.
Huh? Oh, no.
Oh, wait, what? I'll go first. Did y'all know that there's a new Tom Clancy game that just came out?
No.
Called Tom Clancy's End War. It's a strategy game on the Epic Game Store. And
Wow.
I haven't heard of this. I know that you haven't
zero
heard
How
of this.
exciting.
Legitimately kind of exciting, but at the same time, why haven't I heard of it?
Literally came out 3 days ago.
Huh.
Wow.
Wait a minute.
What are you doing?
Hold up. Initial release 2009. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Is this a re-release?
What?
I'm surprised I
Okay,
didn't know
that's-
there was a Tom Clancy weird.
Okay, that's my
package
shout out.
Hey.
Bizarre. All right. I'm going to shout out to Dimension 20 for getting my mother into watching people play D&D. Bizarre.
Oh, God.
I never thought that would be possible, but she has now sat and watched 2 full seasons of Dimension 20, which is a very funny show run by Brendan Lee Mulligan and crew. Great. Very fun. I didn't think a 50-something-year-old woman would be interesting in watching people play D&D. But hey, sometimes you find new things out.
God. All right. Shout out to Frequency and Kota Hoshino, I think is the guy's name, whose band it is. It's FromSoft's internal band that hasn't made music in a while because they used to do all the Armored Core soundtracks, and the music is very good. And Kota Hoshino, notably, has never studied or wanted to study music theory in his entire life. And so it just sounds sometimes like somebody is just doing the most crazy stuff you've ever heard because he's not bound by your rules. And sometimes it doesn't really work, but sometimes it's awesome and it's
A
really,
neat
really
way
cool.
to get new stuff.
And I'm pretty sure he's coming back for 6 too, which is good to hear
That'd be
because
great.
it'd be weird without him.
Well, Brett, since you didn't shout this out, I'm very surprised. Shout out to Witch from Mercury. Oh, that's a
You can
good
say
show.
what that is for people that don't know what it is.
It's just a completely
is
nonsensical.
it is.
I did shout it out before when it was aired.
Oh, you did? Oh, it is a very, very entertaining Gundam anime that we started watching. And as Brett will attest, it has a very shippable couple.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And I never say that about anything.
Well, on that happy note, we're gonna end the show, which means Tuesday mornings, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, podcast platform of your choice, YouTube and Twitch. Check us out. We're at Double M Radio on everything, basically.
Find us, or we will find you.
I'm in your walls already.
Your house.
We'll do an episode right in your house with you just in the background.
Yep.